Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm going to be doing the truth behind my IG photos. So this is basically just, Instagram is not reality, and I just kind of wanted to show some realities of what was actually happening behind the scenes to get these photos. And honestly, I was going through some really dark times, and I did this in therapy actually, where I brought up photos of, where I was portraying that I was doing great and everything, but then we talked about how I was actually feeling, and I just thought it was interesting and therapeutic. So I would love to just kind of let you guys into that and just give you a reminder that Instagram is not reality. And, we post things that we think are fun and we look our best, but you truly never know what is going on behind the scenes. I'm going to display them right here, and I actually have them on my computer. Start things off on kind of a fun note. This picture was taken literally the night before Megan got engaged, and oh my gosh, all I could think about was the next day and how excited I was and how she knew nothing about what was gonna happen the next day. I don't know, I look at this picture and I will always remember just how excited I was, and I don't know, it's kind of more of a fond memory for this one. Basically, we had this whole event that we were gonna go to pre-COVID, what a thought, and we were just let's go take some pictures, let's go take some content before we go. And just knowing that she was gonna get engaged the next day, it felt like every picture was different, every word I said was different because I was so nervous about spilling the beans. So that's just kind of a fun one to start with. Keeping on the fun train, I was drunk in this one, very drunk. My lovely friend Sarah Bell took these on her film camera, and we were at this place called Flamingo in Nashville. And again, this is all pre-COVID. It's crazy that this even existed at one point in time. We're at a club. We had some people in town that we were trying to show a good time. When that happens, we actually went to Broadway that night, but I look back at this and it was so fun. But I was definitely an 8 out of 10, if not a 10 out of 10 in this photo. So, love that for me. This photo was in New York City. Lydia, Megan, and I all decided to go to New York City. I believe this was in January. Yeah, January or February. And it was so cold, you guys. It was, if you live in New York or have been to New York or are on the East Coast at all, you know how cold it gets. Let me just paint the picture for you. Picture me in this pink ball gown, walking down the streets of New York with a coat over the ball gown and Uggs underneath, and taking the picture. I took the coat off, and it's New York, so it's people are walking by and they were just looking at me with this, big pink ball gown, pink hair, and no coat, in probably, honestly, I would say 10-degree weather. The wind's whipping. It was so cold. It was freezing. I was probably laughing because I was delusional at that point. You want to try and get the shot, so we took a bunch of photos, but man, it was cold. So that's a little fun behind the scenes there. I'm gonna keep on the uncomfortable train. This photo was taken in Colorado. We booked a trip to Colorado. This was all pre-COVID. I know I keep saying it, but it is just so crazy that it was the world at one point. It was Lydia, Megan, and I. We decided to go to Estes Park in Colorado. We were staying in Denver, and Estes Park is I would say 40 minutes to an hour outside of Denver. Perfect place to shoot this floor-length evening gown. We climbed the mountain in our car, up the roads and everything, and there was no snow at the bottom. But y'all, again, if you live in Colorado, if you live in a mountain area, maybe this is just something we're not used to, but we climbed the mountain in this car, and the higher we got, the icier it got. We were all just holding our breath basically at the top of this mountain in Estes Park in Colorado. Finally get to like this lookout point, and we're like, okay, this has to be the spot. Like, we literally physically cannot go any higher because it was getting so icy and we felt like it was truly dangerous. So we hop out of the car. I'm wearing, again, this floor-length evening gown, and literally like climbing rocks to get to this position that I'm in. There are other people, and no coat, it's freezing again, and there are people, genuine like Colorado people, who are looking at me like, this girl is an idiot. This girl is not okay. Like, who let her in Colorado? I remember slipping. I didn't hurt myself, but I remember like slipping and almost eating major, but I didn't. But oh my gosh. And I remember being like, actually, this was a rare time where I got kind of moody, honestly. I don't get mean, or I don't get like annoyed with shooting often, because it's like most of the time it's so fun and it's just like we're in this beautiful place, like whatever. But this was one time that I remember feeling like I was actually very unsafe, and I remember just thinking like, okay, like I want to get this over with, like I don't want to shoot anymore. I remember it being really tense with Lydia and I, and like we're best friends, and I think we both were just so tense and on edge because it actually felt dangerous. It wasn't, obviously, but it was one of those rare times that I was like, okay, like this is enough, like we don't need to go this far. Shot was gorgeous, so I mean this shot actually holds a lot of sentimental value for me. This car is, I want to say, a 1996 BMW convertible, and it belonged to my husband's grandfather, and it's a car that now my in-laws have, and I don't know, I love this car, and I love kind of like the meaning behind it. It's not a car that gets driven often because it's like a red convertible, 1996 convertible, so it kind of just felt really special that I was able to like use it as like a prop for this shoot. And also my mother-in-law is an amazing photographer, so it kind of was just a nice experience, just like bonding with her or we're taking these photos, bringing back this car in like a really fun way, in like a memory type way. Yeah, that's just kind of like a fun fact, and I look back at this picture and I think it's really sweet, just all the kind of sentimental value that it has. Okay, this photo, oh my gosh, I have never been more tired in my whole life. I was in Toronto. This was right after our show in January of 2019. No, of 2020. So this was right before the pandemic hit. I had the longest travel day, it felt like, ever. The weather was really bad, and we had played a show in Boston the night before, and Boston was like predicted to get this huge snowstorm, and it was actually a strip of weather that was going to continue like literally up towards Boston and like through Toronto. It was just like a line of just horrible weather. I remember being really nervous about it, like, and after touring, after like a show, you go to bed really late. Like you're high off of just the experience, and you're like just buzzing from it. So it takes a long time in general to kind of just like fall asleep. We went to bed super late anyways, and then we had a 6 a.m. flight. So a 6 a.m. flight, you got to get up at 4. And so Lydia, Megan, and I were up at 4. We got in our car, we got to the airport, and we go to our gate, and they're like, your flight's been canceled. And we're like, tight. We had to make it to that show in Toronto. I mean, that was just, we had a show. It wasn't just like whatever. It was like people had bought tickets and we had this show. Ended up getting on like all of these crazy different flights and like connecting through different places and like whatever. We finally made it to Toronto at, I want to say we landed at like 4:30 or something, and our meet and greet started at like 5:30. And at this point, we'd been up since 4 in the morning. We had been in multiple airports. We had no makeup on, and we hadn't been to the hotel. We hadn't showered. We hadn't prepared at all for this show or meet and greet. us actually doing our full glam, like lashes, contour, thick foundation. I've got my pink hair extensions out in the Toronto bathroom. Yeah, like suitcase open in the Toronto bathroom, again, pre-COVID, just chilling, and people, you know, getting off their flights, going right to the bathroom, just, I mean, bathroom's full, line, waiting, and here we are doing our full glam stage makeup in the Toronto bathroom. Get our makeup on, whatever, we hop in the Uber. The Uber was terrifying. We were in like a freaking Corolla, which, no shade to Corollas, I had a Corolla, but in the snow and ice in Toronto, it was terrifying. Just stressful. I remember we almost ran into like a bunch of cars getting there. We finally make it to the venue. We play the show, we do the meet and greet, and it was amazing. And we stayed at this, and we didn't even go to the hotel until after the show. So keep in mind, we've been up since 3:30, 4 in the morning, and we finally make it to the hotel at, I would say honestly, 11 o'clock, maybe a little earlier, but like 11 to midnight, somewhere in there. And part of this hotel deal in particular, this was the B Show, which was arguably one of my favorite hotels I've ever stayed at. We had to take photos for the hotel and for our Instagram. It's literally like midnight, been up since 4 in the morning, and I just had to take this photo. So we, you know, as much as I wanted to just take off my makeup and sleep and just like have some dinner, we were like, nope, we gotta drop our stuff off, head down to the lobby and take some photos. So this photo, you're looking at a full face of Toronto airport makeup, a 3:30 a.m. face. So really pulled that together. Okay, I'm gonna get into a little bit more of like a triggering segment about eating disorders. So if you feel triggered by photos, if you feel triggered about talking about it, I'm giving you a warning now to click off. Thank you for watching. If you watched this far, I appreciate you, love you, but I fully understand if eating disorder talk is going to be triggering for you. So trigger warning right here. This photo honestly was really hard. It's like getting hard for me to like even look at it. This was like a really big triggering photo for me. I think anybody who has struggled with eating disorders before probably feels really triggered by certain photos of themselves, and this shoot in particular was one where I just felt so disappointed in like my body and how it looked on camera, and it really, like, this photo and this shoot in general, unfortunately, like really made me spiral into like a really heavy like time with my eating disorder. I'm grateful for it in a way because I think it led me to where I am now, which is, you know, I'm really in recovery and I feel like I'm doing really well with it. I'm not gonna lie, like this started the phase that led me to like finally get to where I felt like I needed to be and like seek treatment. Looking back at it now, I'm like, I looked gorgeous, you know, like I don't see what I saw then, and it like hurts my heart to like see this photo and be like, oh my gosh, like I thought I looked so bad and like I didn't. Oh, I'm not meaning to like cry, but you know, I mean, it also just kind of proves how far I've come, I think, because I'm able to look at this and be like, no, like you're beautiful, like, and you know, the experience of the shoot would have been so different if it were now, and I don't know. So, moving on, you know, this is like one of those things that I talked about in therapy, just keeping on that like Instagram reality. This photo, I was at my lowest weight. And that day I had one of the worst panic attacks that I'd ever had, because I mean, honestly, it's like I wasn't eating enough. I was over exercising, and I was it was right before I like sought treatment. Like I think the week after this, I like you know, really like went out of my way to like seek treatment, because the anxiety was so bad. And this was supposed to be like a trip for my husband and I. And I remember right before we went to the airport, I was like, Weston, I don't even know if I can go. Like, my anxiety is so bad. And anxiety is one thing, but anxiety triggered by, you know, an eating disorder is something totally different, in my opinion. You know, like, you nourish your body and you feed your body to regulate itself, and I wasn't doing that. And I don't know, it's just tough. You know, this caption is completely unrelated to how I was feeling and what I was going through, and I just remember feeling so numb. I purposely didn't post a few of the other ones from like this little series because they were just like body checking photos. Basically, I bought this dress to be body checking. Like, I knew it would look good on this body and this body only, and you know, and that was where my head was. It's just a really good reminder that you don't know what's going on. And even as honest as I am, I even go through phases where I'm not. And I think that, you know, every blogger, every influencer that you follow will post things that are better than they are. That's just human nature. Like, even if they are super honest and open. So, that one's tough. I hope you enjoyed these Instagram behind the scenes, what was really happening. Just, you know, as you know, Instagram is not reality. It just isn't. It really is a highlight reel, and there's always so much more to the story that you know nothing about, whether it's your friends and family or like a YouTuber you follow or a blogger you follow. Sometimes people post things to cover up how they're really feeling, and that's just the reality of it. But I hope this gave you a little bit of an insight into what was going on with me in a few of those photos. And if you have any questions or like any other Instagrams you want, you know, specifically you want to know what was going on, I'd be more than happy to let you know. This is also just a little tidbit. If you are struggling with eating disorders or any sort of mental health issue that is causing you harm, or, you know, making it so you can't live your life, you need to take care of it. And this is your sign to do that. Now is the time to do that. Get help where you can, and get to a point where you can look back at these photos or photos that you took and look how far you've come. I know it's tough, but I had to drop that in there just because, you know, some of my photos were a little bit more heavy. I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Thank you for supporting me on this channel and on my Instagram. I really appreciate it more than you know. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and yeah, talk to you later.